Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll Masechta the Sanhedrin daf Kuf Yud Gimel, which is the last daf in Masechta the Sanhedrin. We are going to start a little bit in the previous daf on Kuf Yud Beis and Mud Beis. We're going to begin about 15 lines from the bottom with the words Trumos Yirkavu. So when it comes to Truma in an Ir Hanidachas, so we let it rot. Omer Chista. Now in the Havamina we think Lo Shanu El Truma B'Yad Yisrael. Maybe this is only referring to Truma, which Yisrael's holding. However, Truma B'Yad Kayin, once it's already given over to Kayin, Kivan D'Maynehu Tisarif. And since it now belongs to him, the Kohen, so therefore Itaka should be burnt, should be destroyed. So that is the, at least in the Havamina, that's what we think. Says Rashi, because Truma B'Yad Yisrael she'adayin lo nosl kayin, if you'll oisi Yisrael Rasha, who Truma b'shiado ein nisrafes im sharch shalola. So we're not going to burn the Truma in that case. We're going to let it rot. The whole Avdidehu, it doesn't belong to the Israel. The Shema Haya Nasl Kain Sadik Shvechutzalah. Maybe we'll end up giving it to a Sadik outside of the land, outside of the city. Hilkach Einu Nisrafes. Therefore, we're not going to burn it. The Hainu Kipikadain Deir Acheres. It's Ki'ilu, like it's possible, like a Pikadon in a different city, as we saw before. V'isna Begavad Yermul El de Muteres. V'nehi de Mechia Lo Sharina Law. I understand you can't eat it. The Shema Hayanas Lo Kain Rasha. Shibasaicha. He may end up giving to a Kain Rasha inside, and which becomes problematic. Hilchach, therefore, we find this middle ground. If Yirkavu, we let it rot. Truma B'Yad Kayin de Memaynahu Tisarif. So on this, the Gemara says, Mas Rav Yosef, Meiser Sheni, when it comes to bringing the tithe to Yerushalayim, Meiser Sheni, as well as Vikisya Kodesh, when it comes to holy books, Yignazu. So we say that it doesn't, we don't burn it, but rather we do Geniza. Now, the Meiser Sheni, B'Yad Yisrael, when it comes to Meiser Sheni that belongs to a Yid, it's Ketruma B'Yad Kayin Dami, the Katani Yignazu. Why would we say that you do Geniza? Well, you should burn it. So it must be that even if it's B'Yad Kayin, that you're not going to be Machalik and say in that case you burn it. The only time we let it rot is if it's in the hands of the Kayin. Just like when it comes to Meiser Sheni and Kisvi Kodesh, we do Geniza. We don't burn it there either. But Truma B'Yad Yisrael, if it's Truma's in the hand of Yisrael, Tinasla Kain should be Iracheres. Then he should give it to another Kain in a different city, and this is the Maskanas Gemara, so that he'll be able to use it. Says question 4, Truma should be Ir Hanidachas Madina. So he says Truma B'Yad Kain, if it's in the hand of a Kain, then it has to be let it rot. Truma B'Yad Yisrael, Tinasla Kain should be Iracheres. Tanat Hassam. Gisa shel Meiser Sheni. When it comes to the dough of Meiser Sheni, Patur min Challah. So we say that there's no chiyuv of Challah. Divrei Meir. However, they disagree. Now, what is the Svar Samachloikis? Because there's a din of Eresosechem, that it belongs to you. So therefore, the question is, if it's Meiser Sheni, does it belong to the person? Is it Mammon Hedyet or is it Mammon Gavoa? And therefore that will be totally whether it's Potter in Chala or not. Fine. So Rav Chisda Machlaikis is Meiser Sheni Yerushalayim. The whole Machlaikis is Meiser Sheni Yerushalayim. The Rameir Savar Meiser Sheni Mammon Gavohu. And since Rameir holds as Mammon Gavoa, therefore it's Potter in Chala, because it's not yours. Rabbanan Savar Mammon Hedyet who Aval Begavulin Divrei Hakol Potter. So since you can't eat it in Gvulin, so therefore everyone will say you're Potter in that case. Says Rashi, She'ein lo heter achila el pedia. The only thing you can do is redeem it. Divrei kol patur min chal. In that case, you're Potter from chal. The mammon gavohu. It's definitely not yours because you can't eat it. Lashon acher el begvulin de'ein lo heter achila b'shas chiyav chala v'afil padalach mikain. So possibly even if you were paid it, you're still part from Chal. So must Rav Yosef. Ma'aser Sheni of a Kisei Kaddish Yignazu. The Ma'askin again. Ilam Yerushalayim. You ever talk about Ma'aser Sheni that's in Yerushalayim? Mi Havi Ir Nidachas. How is it possible that there's an Ir Nidachas in Yerushalayim? We already learned that's not a possibility. There's no possibility of Yerushalayim to have an Ir Nidachas. So therefore, it can't be the Ma'aser Sheni is inside. Vel Bi'acheres. It must be that the Ma'aser Sheni is outside. V'yaskul Bi'acheres. V'yaskul Gavo. And you brought it inside, says Rashi. Shahai Oiser Ma'aser Sheni Shel Echad Memnei Ir Hanidachas. The Ma'aser Sheni belongs to someone from Ir Nidachas. Ve'elu Oiser Shalayim. That guy brought it to Shalayim. Kaidim Shehudcha. Before the psak of the Ir Nidachas. V'yachal Chudchu. And then after it's been brought into Yerushalayim, then all of a sudden it was decided that this is an Ir Nidachas. Im Kain Ma Yignazu. Why should it be buried in that situation? L'sharsu Nami Bachilo. Dog Katluhu Machitzos. The Hainu Chayma. Well, you should be able to eat it, right? So it says the Gemara, V'ha Katluhu Machitzos. Now you should be allowed to eat it. And the Ma'aser Sheni. If later it becomes an Ir Nidachas, that shouldn't change its status. It's referring to that the Ma'aser Sheni never made it to Yerushalayim. It's in Gvulin, and we see that you have to bury it. The question is why? It should be mutter. Well, olam diracheres v'askin olam diracheres. It came from another city, v'yaskul gava, and you brought it to Yerushalayim. So the question is, if you brought it to Yerushalayim, so you could eat it. We're talking about a situation where the Ma'aser Sheni became tamei, and since it's tamei, so it's not something which can be eaten. So okay, Philifrika, so redeem it. If it's tamei, you could redeem the Ma'aser Sheni. So why bury it? So Rabbi Lezer, Minayin the Ma'aser Sheni shenitme. Ship pointed out so if you're Yerushalayim, tell me suchos eso. Means you can't carry it. Vein says el lachil means you can't eat it. Shnemer of yismi mases meis panav. So the kasha is, I don't understand. If it became tamei and it's in Yerushalayim, you could be pointed. You can't be pointed Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim if it's tahar. If it's tamei, we see that you could. So why can't you just be pointed? Why have to bury it? Talk about skinan b'lakuach. So it already was redeemed, and you bought. And what you end up doing is you brought money to Yerushalayim, and you bought food, and that became tamei. So because of that, you can no longer redeem it because it was already purchased. Okay, so Gemara says on Kufyat Gimel, so what's the problem? V'lifrike. So why can't you just redeem it again? Did not holakech b'kesem ma'aser shenitma yifda. So even if you did purchase with Ma'aser Sheni, now you have money. And you bought something with the money, and that became tummy, you could still be pointed. Your answer is, Rabbi Yehuda di Armi Yikaver. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he says no, and this is how we're going to paskin, like Rabbi Yehuda, that you cannot redeem it. So it doesn't matter even if it's a regular case of Ma'aser Sheni. Why are we talking about Nidachas? Really, we're talking about the Ma'aser Sheni's tahar. The walls didn't do anything because the walls were not there anymore. They had fallen down. In order to be able to eat, you need walls. Likloit derabanan, and the din of being koilate is derabanan. Says Rashi, shiu mechitzos kol tois ben in pedia ben l'chol inyan midrabananhu. The notion of once you enter into the city, that regarding you not being able to be paida, that's a din derabanan. The chigas are rabbanan ki isno mechitza. That's only if there is a wall that you can't redeem it. Ki leisnehu mechitza lo. However, there's no mechitza, we don't say that. It says Rashi, chigas are rabbanan did havi kalitas mechitzos la meiser deshuv enu yochol lifdaisai, that you can no longer redeem it. In Ir Nidachas nami, also when it comes to Ir Nidachas, shlo yehi b'sreifa, it shouldn't be burned. Heichad isnu mechitzos, in the case where there are walls. Okay, masnisin So then we said Kisya Kodesh Yignazu. Again, they're supposed to bury these books. So Masnisa look at Belezna. Son Belezna Omer Kol Ir Sheishba Afil Mezuzah Achas Seinu Nasas Nidachas. All you need is one mezuzah, and that will save an entire city. So therefore, there's no such possibility of having Kisya Kodesh, because the Kisya Kodesh would redeem it. Shnemar v'srafta ba'esh esir, because the chiyuv is to burn the whole city. V'es kol shalom kolil ve'echadika mezuzah asher nechsevu sasakin Hashem alkeichem. So he said, what do you mean? Maybe just do Geniza? No, you can't do Geniza. Geniza isn't the mitzvah. The mitzvah is burning everything. But if there's a mezuzah, that mezuzah causes that you can't destroy everything in the city, and therefore the city just cannot become Ir Nidachas. So again, the power of even one mezuzah can save an entire city. Now Shimon Omer Kadosh Baruch V'chul. So Lema B'Rav Oven Omer Rav Iwa Kimifagi. The Omer Rav Oven Omer Rav Iwa, with regarding to building orchards and vineyards, Kol Makom Shiata Moitza Kalal Ba'aseh. If you have a general rule when it comes to an aseh, and then a prat b'lois aseh, and a donos b'chal prat, you don't learn how to call prat. Demar islay de Rav Oven, demar leislay de Rav Oven. So let's look at Rashi. So you have a klal b'aseh and prat b'lois aseh. Kagoyin, in our case, you have a klal of a hoisa tel oilam, which is a general aseh of having it as a heap. That's a klal. Diafil ganus pardesim, which is mashma, and telling you it's even to gardens and vineyards. You shouldn't have anything. Lo tasa elati tel olam. Shuaseh, it should be complete nothing but a big pile of nothing. And then it says lo sivna oid. Don't build it. That's a lo saseh, which is very specific. Binyan batim v'hu lo saseh. The lo saseh is not to build buildings. Ein donois b'kal prat. When we're in b'kal mashim prat, we don't say there's nothing in the call except for the prat. Deloy sase perishu kaimer b'haisa tel oil mabinin kaimer, only for building of ganos or pardesim shari. Maybe it's telling that you could have gardens and vineyards, right? It's telling you, why does it say an asay and then a losa say, and the losa say is specific, don't build. Must be, what is it telling you? Don't build, but you could have orchards and gardens. So that's one interpretation. Instead, skipping 2 lines, v'darshinan le v'davar shehaya b'chlal v'yatzman klal lamed lo lamed al atzma yatsa el lamed al kol kul yatsa. The loimer binyan b'chlal haya. Building is in a general category. V'lama yatsa l'hakashalcha. Ma binyan miyuchid shehu yishuv b'nei adam. It's something in which people dwell in. Daf kol binyan kagan ganus pardesim. So too these are also considered to be a binyan miyuchid. It's a yishuv oilam. People enjoy having these things to live, and therefore it's being excluding that as well. Rabbi Yosi Haglilu Savar Ein Donin Kravovin. The Rabbi Kiva Savar Donin. Okay, no. The Kuli Alma Isahud Ravovin. Everyone holds, even Rabbi Kiva, like Ravovin. The Hachabah Kamifagi. The Mar Savar Ode, when it says don't do it at all, the word Ode is Lagamri Mashma. The Mar Savar Ode Lakama Shahayis, the way it was. But therefore, it can't be the way it was as a regular city, but it could be other things like vineyards, etc. Enu nivnis el nasis he ginaisu pardesim. Again, it's a machlokas. Tarnaban hayba ilanais telushim. If there are trees that are already detached as surin, then they're also, they have to be destroyed. However, mechubarin mutarin. If they're still attached to the ground, you don't have to touch those trees. That's when it comes to the city of Yerichai. Shel ira cheres. Let's just find this. It says Rashi, Mechubar mitarin. The kiabaitz v'saraf da'im rachmana mishin mechuser el kvitza v'sreifa. Only when it comes to gathering and burning it. Yatazesh mechuser talisha kvitza v'sreifa. Not when it comes to something in which this is talking about Ir Nidachas. That when it comes to this, the din is that mechuber is mutter. It's because the whole issue of burning it is you gather it up and burn it. Not you gather. You have to first detach the trees. So that's not, that extra step is not in the purview of the psukim. However, shila ira cheres, that, as I believe is Yericho, Ben Telushin, Ben Mechubarin also. You got to get rid of everything. So my Yecheres, so Ram Chisni Richo. There you go. The pasuk says, "V'hoisa ha'ir chayrim Lashem, v'yishva Yoshua be'esai hilemor." He swore, "Orur ha'ish l'fnei Hashem asher yokum ubana es ha'ir hazais es Richo." Cursed is the person who builds this place. B'b'choira yisadena, from its beginnings of its foundation of its seira yotze v'dolaseha, and to set up his gates. The youngest setting up their gates. Tanya, lo Yericho al shem ir acheres, lo ir acheres al shem Yericho. Not only can you not build up Yericho, but you can also not build a city and call that city Yericho. So apparently all these cities, they're called Jericho, is a big no-no. Bona Chiel, who is a person, based Elias Yericho. So he actually, Chiel, as is discussed in Malachim, so he actually built up Yericho. So that was something which he was not supposed to do. Ba'aviram b'chayro yista, and it started the foundation by his first child. Uvaskuv seiro hitzav dolaseha, and then when it came to his other child, he set up the gates. So Tanya ba'avirim b'chayro rasha v'hoyel limoid. When it came to Avirim, his first child, he did not know. However, by Skuv, he should have known. In other words, when it came to his kids, they died, which was clearly must have been a punishment for having built Yericho. So he may not have figured that out immediately when his first child died, but when his other child died, he should have gotten the message that he obviously did something wrong. Aviram Skub Mayovid, what do they do? So Hachikamer. Aviram Bechayro, his oldest child, the father should have understood. Mamash Mishnamar Baviram Bechayro, the fact that it says Bechayro, his oldest, and Yodesh Skub Tziro, that Skub is younger. Matomer Skub Tziro, we already can figure that out, obviously. So Malamed Shaya. The idea is that there were other children in between. Achav, so Achav was actually a close friend with this guy Chiel. Asa Ihu v'Eliyahu l'mishol b'shlomo. So Achav and Eliyahu went to greet this man Chiel in the Beit Tamya, in the Beis Avel, because he was mourning the loss of his child. Yosef Ikar was sitting and said, Dilma Kimail Yoshua Hachila. Maybe when Yoshua cursed the person who rebuilds the city of Yericho, maybe this is what it means. The Rashi says, Beit Tamya is Beit Taima Beis Avel, Shematimin Oisam Devarim Lonachmoi, that they try to speak sweet words to comfort a person. So maybe when Yoshua said this, Lo Yericho al Shem Ir Acheres, Lo Ir Acheres al Shem Yericho. Armalei Eliyahu in. Eliyahu said, yes, that's true. Yericho was not allowed to be rebuilt, and no city can be named Yericho. So Armalei, so Achav said, one second, Hashta. Lavtosa de Moshe lo Mekaima. When it came to all the curses regarding Moshe, nothing happened. Dechsiv, V'sartem v'yavadatem v'goymer. So it says that if you go away from serving God, it says V'ksiv v'chara af Hashem b'chem v'asar es l'shamayim v'goymer. There's not going to be any rain. So if a person is a sinner, then you shouldn't. The rainfall shouldn't take place. However, v'hu gavra, referring to himself, Achav, oikim le'avodas kochavim, I'll call tell him. I have idols all over the place. V'shavik le'mitra, the mazel miskanle. There's so much rain that it's not a problem for me. So if when it comes to what you're saying that this is a curse that Yoshua did, Moshe cursed any person who worships idols, and his curse meant nothing. So look at how great I am. All the rain came, no rain stopped. So Avtasa de Yoshua Talmidi Mekaima. So Yoshua was only the student of Moshe. Of course, it's not going to be Mekayim. So Miyad, upon hearing these brazen words of Achav, so because of that, Eliyahu said, "Yomer Eliyahu hatishbi mitayshi gilad Chai Hashem Elokei Yisrael. I swear in the name of God, Nimiyat Tal Mata V'Gaimer. There's not going to be any rain or dew." So basically, because of this whole conversation of Achav, so because of that, Eliyahu said, "I'm now going to make sure that there's no rain, and there'll be a massive drought in the days of Achav." And of course, because of that, Achav got mad at Eliyahu. Okay. So he asked for mercy, and the key to rain came. So now Eliyahu had this key. He had this key. Vahi davar Hashem elav loimelach. What is this? He went toward the east. V'nisteres benachal kris. That's the right word. And Eliyahu hid in this particular location with fear of his life of Achav. He was scared of what was going to happen. So, fortunately, even though he was hiding from being killed by Achav, Eliyahu was fed by ravens, of all creatures, ravens. And he was given bread and meat. Now the question is, Mehecha, where did this meat come from? So, Omer Rav Yehuda Omer Rav, Tamchi de Achav. It came from the slaughterers, the butchery of Achav himself. Okay. So the question that some ask is, so why didn't Moshe's tefillah come true? So Mehera quickly, it says Mehera, quickly could be hundreds of years for Hashem, or only when everyone is Oved Avodah Zarah, not just Achav. Okay. Anyway, so that's what happened. He indicates Yomim after a certain amount of time. V'yivash hanachal, everything got dried up. There was a massive famine. Kilo haya geshem ba'aretz kivandachaz that he ikat tsar ba'alma. There was such anguish in the world. Ksiv v'hidavar Hashem elav lemer kumlech sarfasa. Speaking to Eliyahu to stop. V'ksiv v'hiachad avar mo'ela chola ben isha. This the son of a woman got sick. Balas abayis. So ba rachmi lamitin le akleda de tchisamesim. Because this child was dying, so he asked for the key for tchisamesim. Because in fact he wasn't just dying; he taka died. So Hashem said, 1 second. There's only 3 keys. So there's 3 keys that were never given over to a shliach. That rather Hashem himself is involved to himself. Shel chaya, one is childbirth, or shel geshamim, one's rain, shel tchisamesim, and tchisamesim, some say parnasa. But anyway, these 3. Now yomer shtayim biad talmud v'achas biad harav. You already have the key for rain. Now you want the key for childbirth, for tchisamesim? Can't do that. So I see ha for shakal hai. Give me back the key to rain, and I'll give you the key for tchisamesim so you can revive this child. And then all of a sudden rain came. So the Gra actually learns that mafteach is spelled mem fe tav ches. The mem is for matar, rain. Pei is parnasa, which is the yesh oimrim, the Gemara in Tainus. The taf is tchisamesim, and the ches is chaya. Okay. So, and by the way, the ravens, the oirev, didn't do the shlichus for Noach, because there's a medrash that he needed to do shlichus for Eliyahu to bring him food. So that's actually an interesting medrash for that. Now, why was he doing this for this child? Because she gave Eliyahu food, although there was a famine. And therefore he felt obliged to repay, and therefore he wanted to revive this child when the child had died. So Darashahu Galilia Kameda Rav Chista Mashal Eliyahu Mahadavar. What is this compared to, this story of Eliyahu? Legavra de Tarke Legalia. It's like a person who is closing up a door. The Avde Lamiftache, but he ends up losing his the entrance. So what exactly does this mean? Let's see if there's a Rashi over here. So the Tarkel Galia Shasasam Sha'ar, he closes the gate. The Avde Lamiftache Kach also Eliyahu Noel Sha'ar, he closed up the gates of rain. The Masayv Avad Hamafteach, he ended up losing the key of rain. Shal Niftach Hashar Shal Mater Al Yadai, that it didn't end up being opened up because of him. He lost what he kept because he had to give the key back. Okay. The Chavetz Chaim says the Yoina on Yom Kippur, since we all have a kapara and each has a separate task, Hashem creates nothing extra, so we are here for a reason. The Yoina kept sending down until he could reach a tikkun. Go do your shlichus. This lady was Yonah's mother. Yonah was revived, died, and Eliyahu brought him back to life. So this is an interesting vort. Again, that Yonah, which we read about on Yom Kippur, some say was actually the child that was revived by Eliyahu. And again, the whole notion of Yom Kippur, which is kapara, is to recognize this notion that everyone has a specific purpose and task in this world. Hashem creates nothing extra. So Yonah kept sending down until he sent down until he finally reached a tikkun. So that was the idea. He had to go do a shlichus, and this lady was again Yonah's mother, and Yonah was revived. He died, and Eliyahu brought him back to life. Okay, I in the Chavetz Chaim on that. So Darish Rabbi Yosef B'tzipayri Abba Eliyahu, as we continue to cook Yud Gimel Amid Beis, and we're coming to a rapid end over here. Kafton. So this person was Eliyahu was a kafton, says Rashi. Shekas al achav. He caused anger. The Omer Chai Hashem im yeh hashan ma'ela tal matar, if there's going to be rain. So haya ragil amesi gabe. So Eliyahu used to come by him. Yechasimine tlas yom. Eliyahu stopped coming for 3 days. That's right. Haya ragil amesi labem in Russia kol yoma lo asama tlas yomi. By being slandered like this for 3 days, he didn't come. Lo asa. So some people say 3 days is 24 hours is a day, is 72. 72 hours. 72 is the gematria of chesed. So don't think I held rain out of kas, rather of chesed. So people would do tshuva. It's an interesting idea. So that's why he held back for 3 days. V'loasa kiyasa amalei maika mailu asamar. Why'd you come? Amalei captain karisala. You call me a captain, that I get angry. So amalei had the kaman had the kakapid mar. The fact that basically you didn't come shows that you are kapid, right? That you are makbid. V'yidbak biyadcha ba'uma min acherim kulzman shirishayim ba'olam charnaf ba'olam v'chulu. The Rishayim are in this world. There's anger in this world. Man Rishayim Amrav Yosef Ganvi. These are referring to thieves. Fine. Now, what exactly does that mean? So it's possible that this is referring to like Achan. Achan stole from Yerichai, so we call him a Rasha. So maybe it's because we're talking about Yericho, so we're talking about Achan. Talking about Rasha, Ba'olam Charnaf Be'olam. There's anger in the world. Shnemar Rasha Ba'gam Boys Ve'am Kaloin Cherpa. So there's a lot of anger and embarrassment. Rasha Avad Min Olam. When the Rasha leaves the world, Taiva B'olam, it's good for the world. Shnemar Avad Rishayim Rina. It'll be like song. Sadik nifter min olam. When the tzaddik dies, ra ba'olam, it's bad. Ra ba'olam, bad comes to the word. Shnemar had tzaddik avad. If the tzaddik is lost, dein ish som alev. There's no person that will comprehend in their hearts. V'yanchi chesed ne'asafim, and the men's of kindness will be gathered. Boyin maven ki mipnei hara ne'asav tzaddik. Tzaddik ba'olam. If it's a tzaddik comes to the world, ba'taiva ba'olam. Then Taiva Ba'olam, goodness comes to the world. Shnemar Zei Nachamenu. This I shall be consoled Memaasenu, from his actions, Me'atzviyon Yadenu, and the toil of your hands. Let's look at maybe a question. TA2. Ilonai shel irdi dachas madinon. what is the din of the trees of an ir hanidachas? So we said there's a distinction if they're attached or detached. Talushin asurin, muchubarin is if it's mechubar, then it's mutter. And again, because of this Rashi, this is TA2, because misha enu mechusar el kvitza v'sreifa yatzeh shemechusar talisha v'kvitza v'sreifa. So therefore, that is the din with that. Okay, let's just quickly see this. Hayuba ilonois tilushin asurin mechubarin mutarin. Again, that's TA2. TB 3. Peros Truma, I'm not sure if we did this today, or maybe we did, of Truma should be Ir Hanidachas Mayasa Behem. So what should be done with the Truma? So this is actually the same as question 4. This is TB3. It depends. Let's see if I wrote it right. Rak im biyad Yisrael. So if it's biyad Yisrael, sarach litin l'koyin be'ir acheres. That's correct. Avol im biyad koyin be'ir hanidachas lo. I didn't want the word just lo. If it's in his hands, then the din is yirkavu. It says amrat loshon el truma biyad koyin. That's when we say yirkavu. Okay. Year kivu. That's why I wasn't sure what the answer was. I didn't write that. However, if it's iracheres, if it's beyond Yisrael, then the din is that we will make sure to give it to someone not in the ir nidachas, and then it will be mutter to them. Hadron alach kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek. That's a long name of a parak. Slikula Allah Masechta Sanhedrin, Hanalach Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chelek, Slikula Masechta Sanhedrin, Hanalach Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chelek, Slikula Masechta Sanhedrin. We have Baruch Hashem completed Masechta Sanhedrin, and tomorrow we will be continuing with a new Yishmaka Masechta Makos Ad Kan.